barbecue yesterday. My wife and I and my younger sister, we were just sitting out on our patio, man, and we were just thinking about, like, man, like this year just really went by fast for me and for my wife. I guess because when you
Get older.
that along with
I was gonna say
with issues.
Once you get past your mid-20s, it feels like every year goes by fast.
Nah, man, shoot, man, and all the stuff we going through in our family too. It just seemed like this whole year is just like,
I told you that they did my what is it? That test, stress test, right? the nurse that was the RN. I thought I was gonna have to put him on the treadmill and lay him down. He was 74 years older than me.
oh wow,
And when they took me in, because I was at 12 at the hospital,
yeah.
and he said, if I fall asleep, just wake me up. I just finished having lunch. I said, don't worry about it. I'll slap you silly. Well, you ain't got no problem with that.
He was 74 years old.
Still working?
Because they do the stresses that they did. I had to lay down like sideways. Then they throw something on the IV, and then they're taking pictures before, and the doctor's seeing it, and then they put me on the treadmill, and they start lifting it up to get the heart rate kind from 80 to 100%. And they tell me, if you can't do it, I said, hell no, that's a challenge. I'm going to do it even if I fall dead right here on this treadmill. But I'll finish it. He said, once you reach that goal, he said, we're going to have to move you fast to the table and lay you down again because we're going to take after pictures. And the doctor's in there, the cardiologist, seeing the pictures and all that. And I said, you're going to be able to move me fast over here? I said, you don't move fast and I don't move fast. How are we going to do it?
Right.
By the time we get there, my heart's already stopped. Because I guess it's pumping, and that's what they want to see, something like that. And, once you get off, it starts slowing down real fast. Or,
Yeah, I don't.
Where they don't have it where you're, like when you're walking and running, they want that open. So they can see all the veins and all that. He said, and right away it'll, and that dye that they throw.
So what did they tell you? Yours is good or no?
They said my what is it that I have? The stems, they look good. There's some irregularities, but nothing that looks major.
Good. Yeah.
And they
that's
said,
good.
we'll wait for your cardiologist to see what she wants to do. He said, but that's. Like right now, they're not bad where we have to put you in the hospital. So your blood pressure is good. He said just those irregularities, whatever they found. He said, and showed determined.
Irregularities.
He said, but more likely with stems, there's no more.
Yeah.
Stents. That's it for you.
Yeah.
So I guess next step is when they open me up. I said, all I need is a rat heart, a chango heart, an 8, and I'll be all right. Just throw one of those, the cheapest one.
No, it don't work like that, bro.
They start laughing and shit. I said, I don't mind used parts. I've used used parts all my life, so put them in there.
Yeah.
But no, they said, but the stems look good. They said the electro that they were saying, all the electro she did, that really opened that vein all around the stems. So she took out everything with those electro. Because that's what really did it. If not, she would have to replace all those stems and then put that other one. So
Yeah.
she did good on that. But I know during Christmas she takes vacation. She's from El Paso. So she goes over there. Because last time they hospitalized me, it was around Christmas too, and they were calling her. I'm just getting on the airplane. Okay, do this and this and this and that, and you guys gonna have to wait about an hour or two once I get to El Paso, Because El Paso is about 45 to an hour.
On
by
the
the time
plane?
you get your luggage and all that.
Yeah.
El Paso ain't that far.
All right.
Yep. We're ready, Freddie.
All right. Well, welcome to the No Name Podcast. closing out a year, starting a new year. So hit the like and subscribe button, pass along to others. We have quite a bit going on this year. I guess as we kind of close out the year, kind of what you were saying, Manny, it'd be probably off the air because I'm sure we're going to edit it out or I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
Year going by fast.
Yeah.
I think that happens to all of us. I think the year, I don't know, I feel like I blinked. It's been a whole year that I've been in California. So,
I know, bro.
So it goes by.
I know.
I don't know. I think it goes by fast. I've never been a big New Year's person, I guess. To me, because it's like, I've never believed you wait for the end of the year to start something new. Like, I don't know. You can start something new whenever you want. Like, it's just different things, different circumstances. But I guess, when I take a look back, we've had so much go on this year. We're still doing the podcast. We have our services now going online to YouTube again. Getting close to streaming. I think we're close to the 50 people to be able to stream it.
Yeah.
We have a few testimonies up there, so definitely encourage you to go check that out. We just have quite a bit going on. I think even social media wise, we got a QR code now for the offering. If you want to give your offering that way, there's a lot of different things going on.
Yeah.
So as we kind of close out the year, there's quite a bit to be thankful for. Even through trials and tribulations, there's things to thank God about. And then as we prepare into the new year, a lot of people, this is where a lot of people take a look back at their year and what did they succeed at, what did they succeed
I'm telling
at,
you, man.
or what they failed at, and then what New Year's resolutions are they gonna have? And I don't know. I always look at it a little differently. But what were you gonna say?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I don't really do the resolutions thing. I don't really. I think I'm over resolutions because resolutions don't last.
Yeah.
It has to be more of a change of something. If you want to change something in your life, it can't be a resolution. Like saying you go to the gym, right? You see a lot of people we talked about this many times.
Yeah.
People get gym memberships and they go to the gym. And they probably are at the gym maybe a month and a half, right? Yep. And then boom, they done forgot about it. No, it has to be a change of your habits. Your habits have to change.
Yeah.
If you could change your habits, then those resolutions that you make can come, into fruition. But
it's always it's interesting. It's interesting when we talk about habits, and then when you get into spiritual conversations as well. And I think it fits into life. Typically, when we look at resolutions, for the most part, and I don't know what the statistical study is, but majority of New Year's resolutions fail within the first few weeks.
Definitely.
Months. And I think a lot of it fails, and especially with spiritual. Some of you may even be thinking about New Year's resolution from a spiritual standpoint. And those will fail for this one reason. And this is let's ask the question. Why do you think New Year's resolutions fail?
Maybe because
go ahead.
No, my answer was gonna be because of intent. What's your intention?
Yeah.
What's your intention behind what are you doing?
Yeah.
There's a religion organization, I don't know like to say the name because now you got to be politically correct and all this stuff, but they do like a New Year thing where they is it the New Year's or Easter? Now I can't remember.
No.
Where they do la promesa, they call it a promise, where they're gonna stop something.
Oh, that's around Easter.
That's Easter.
That's Easter.
You're
okay.
You're talking about
wrong holiday.
Something like Lent or something like that.
Lent,
Yeah. No, you're right.
That happens towards the beginning of the year.
But resolutions without God, they're never gonna work.
Yep.
Because human nature is to break them.
Yep.
And as Christians, I learned one thing. You can't make I call them laws. Because sooner or later we're gonna break those laws.
Oh yeah.
It's like if you say, you know what, Lord, I'm gonna wake up every day at 5 a.m. to pray. Sooner or later, one day you're gonna wake up late, or something's gonna happen that you're not able to do it, and the devil's gonna use that to condemn you. That you broke the law. Look at, And
I think-
sometimes you just gotta, I believe, day by day. You know,
Yep.
you have to live day by day and allow God to change you.
Well, I think if you, so kind of what you're tying into is kind of what I was reading about. So I was asking the question because I was reading about it. And I think we have to change our mindset on the way we look at it. I think when you look at New Year's resolutions, or as you were saying, the law, and it goes back to biblical. When you look at the law, when man got involved in it, it all became about our willpower. Our willpower to be able to fulfill the law, our willpower to be able to fulfill our goals and fulfill resolutions and things like that. And instead of looking at it as resolutions and goals as, okay, here's how I have to try harder to get there. And don't get me wrong, there's work and effort put into it. When you start looking at it as more as what is the vision that God has for me? In other words, start praying and seeking, okay, Lord, what are you trying to show me in this next year, or even in the different phases? You don't have to wait for the end of the year, but since we're here,
Well, you show me the next
and you
day.
haven't done it,
You're right.
you know, what is it that you're trying? Because when it becomes biblical vision, now it becomes about transformation and change. And it's not about you, it's about what God's trying to transform you into. And I think when you start thinking about everything that way, it's a little bit different. Like, you know, as we look through it, each year God transforms us in different ways. Some of us, we've gone through circumstances this year, you know, like for instance with myself, we were talking about the other time, you know, as you go through things, God will show you your strengths and he'll show you your weaknesses. And it's not showing your weaknesses so that you get down on it, but to show you, okay, this is where I need more of God's help in there, because there's something in there that I either haven't dealt with or I need to deal with, or, you know, and the Lord starts dealing with you. And then it's more about, okay, Lord, who are you transforming me to be? Are you trying to show me how to be more graceful? Are you trying to show me how to have forgiveness? Are you trying to show me how to have patience and mercy? What are you trying to transform me into? You see, it would be great if God just transformed us magically that way. But
It
in
didn't
life,
work like that.
it's about allowing God to do those pieces in you. And it doesn't, and when you start looking at it that way, that's the same thing with even in the things in life. You know, when you look at it, and some people may have things where they say, I want to be healthier. So they just set a goal and they're like, I want to lose 10 pounds. And then they're just trying to drive to that 10 pounds. And there's nothing wrong with goals. Instead of looking at it and saying, you know what, I want to transform the way my eating habits or my workout habits or my living habits. And you start looking at it, and when you start looking at it that way, you start making small changes that you can that can be transformed. Whether it's like, okay, I'm gonna walk, you know, I'm going to try to walk every day, whether it's 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes after every minute, whatever it is. And you set goals, but you're transforming your thought process instead of just saying, because once you set a goal and you say, okay, I'm going to go to the gym every day, and you miss that first day, then you get on
Yeah,
yourself.
it's just like he said. You know, I mean, I don't know, man. For me, it's like I started to look at it, and we were saying in a biblical sense, right? I look at it like I always think about the story of Lazarus. That's like the story that I think of the most.
Yeah.
And like how, like, we all know, okay, what happened with Lazarus. Jesus, he knew that Lazarus, I know he knew that Lazarus was dead. He didn't rush to go and heal him, right? When he got there, he told the people to remove the stone.
Yeah.
He told the people again, take the cloths off of him.
Yeah.
Now just think about that, right? Think about that. We're talking about God. That God, the one who could easily just like, and Lazarus could have been, no, to me that shows, when I think about that story, that showed me that, you know what, I have to do my part.
Yeah.
I have to do my part too in this. You know, I can't just totally just say, all right, well, this is, no, I have to do my part.
Yeah.
You know, so if I want to achieve, like you said, those resolutions, those goals, I have to do my part in order to achieve them.
Yeah. And I think part of it is, again, we all look at our walk differently. And I was reading something that really kind of stuck out to me, and it was talking about spiritual discipline over spiritual goals. And a lot of
That's
times,
a
some
big
of
difference
us,
between goals and discipline.
yeah, but a lot of us will put spiritual goals out there, like, I want to be able to do this, I want to lead this ministry, I want to do all these things, instead of what's our spiritual discipline. And spiritual discipline focuses more on who God's trying to transform me into me, right? Because one of the things that I find interesting, and I think this is where I've struggled with this, and I think we overall people struggle with, is we're supposed to be transformed into the image of Christ. right? Paul talks about being transformed in the image of Christ. Even in Romans, it talks about transformation coming by the renewing of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
But we think that's a one-time event. We
No,
think
no way.
A lot of people will sometimes think
no.
like, and what we
No,
don't
bro.
realize that it's a lifetime
Yes.
of the renewing of the mind. It's a lifetime of being transformed into the image of God. Because if it was a one-time event and we're transformed into the image of God, then God would take us because
Right.
we're ready to be there with Him. And it's a lifetime journey. And I think when you start looking at it that way,
Mm-hmm.
now you can start allowing yourself to go down that journey. And one of the things you're going to realize in the journey and transformation is you're going to fail.
Oh yeah. You're
And
going-
I think when you give yourself that grace and mercy to do that and allow God to pick you back up, not stay down in your failures and keep failing, but allow God to pick you back up. Now you're going through that walk in that journey and you're being transformed. And I think when you set a goal, if if your goal is like, okay, I'm not going to cuss this year because I feel cussing is bad. And then you go and you drop your first F-bomb and you're like, well, I ruined the year. Okay, here we go. Instead of saying, you know what's leading me to cussing? Okay, Lord, I want you to Lord, I think you're trying to transform that. It's not the act of the cuss, it's what's leading me to that, right? I got a short temper, I got a short view,
yeah.
I'm impatient, or
right.
something's bothering me and I don't speak about it, so I hold it in and then I blow up and that's where God
Yeah.
starts renewing us and transforming us. And I think when you look at the image of Christ, which everyone talks about it, and I actually was looking it up, but what is the image of Christ? And when you start looking at the image of Christ, that takes a lifetime to do. It's not something that just happens overnight. And that's why, like, I think as you start praying about that and you start saying, okay, Lord, I'm not trying to set a goal of I'm gonna go to church every Sunday, or I'm not trying to set a goal that I'm gonna read, so many chapters. I'm gonna read the whole Bible. I'm gonna do this, but I'm gonna come to you and say, okay, Lord, what are you trying to do in me? What are you trying to transform in me? And what I've noticed is that, and it's not always in years. Sometimes it's in months. It's in circumstances. God is working on stuff inside of us that we don't always know needs to be worked on. Like stuff like, for me, I've noticed, in more recent years, the Lord has shown me how to understand grace more. And I thought I had a good understanding of grace. I had a biblical understanding of grace, but putting grace into practice. And you start understanding it more when you start realizing how much God's grace has been given to you, that you can give more to others. And you start seeing things differently. Then it'll move to different stuff. And I think that's one of the things as you kind of go through this journey. It's about what are some of those spiritual disciplines that God can help us with in those things. And it's not about a goal, but it's about, learning to have that again, not saying, okay, I'm going to pray every day, but saying, you know what, I want to have that discipline of that I want to talk to the Father every day. And that's a discipline where I'm going to set some time aside. And if I fell at it, okay, I failed. I realized it, but I'm going to keep trying.
So let me ask you a question. So what advice to people who listen to us right now? Like, what advice would you give them to help them to attain that? Like, how could somebody do that?
Well, I think one, the discipline part or the image of Christ.
I would say the discipline part more so.
I think the discipline part is one, first asking the Lord what's the area that He wants to fix in you. You see, I think sometimes we go too generic, and we say a lot of times it's like, okay, I'm gonna have a discipline of and I keep falling to these generic ones. I'm gonna read the Bible every single day. I'm gonna read a chapter every day, or I'm gonna spend 20 minutes aside with God and this and that, or instead of actually going to God and saying, okay, Lord, what are you trying to transform in me? What are you working on in me? And He's already been doing it. He has the signs. He's putting stuff in you. And when you go and you address that, okay, now you're addressing something that He's trying to transform in you instead of just going to something generic. A lot of times we say, to be transformed into the image of God, and we'll give the general answers because you're speaking to a lot of people. You say, okay, read your Bible, pray, fellowship. Those four core things which are coming to church and which are fundamental. But when you start getting more specific with God and saying, okay, Lord, what is it that you're trying to transform in me? And for some of us, it may be, the Lord may tell you, I'm trying to transform. I want you to go volunteer at this thing. Or I want you to set some, because you don't set time. You know, you don't. If someone's already
Yeah.
setting time with God and having time with Him, God's not going to tell you, okay, set some more time. We'll get with me. Set your goal again, and instead of 15 minutes, give me 20 minutes. No, God knows the intent. If you're already giving Him His time and you're spending time with Him and have that, now He may say, okay, I want to transform you into just not just seeking me, but now touching others. Or I may do this and that, and it's different things, right? Because if you
Yeah,
look
I
at the
can see that.
disciples, there was times where the disciples, He had them, and all He was doing was teaching them, and He didn't tell them to go out. Then there was a point where He said, "Okay, now I'm going to send you out 2 by 2, and take nothing with you, and you go out there." And then when you go to the end where he's already, I think, died, or right when He's about to die, He's going to send them out again. And what does He send them out with? A sword and stuff, and He tells them, "Okay, now you're going to go out again, and this time." You know, and you see, He was transforming them in different parts because He was working in different parts. There was a part where He had to teach them and they had to be there, and it wasn't their job to do anything yet, you know. And then there was the next part where, okay, now you guys are going to go out and you're going to perform some miracles. You're going to go out and you're going to go to these places. You're going to understand what it is to be rejected and what it is to be accepted. Then you're going to come back in, and then He worked with them some more, and He didn't have them doing anything. I mean, they were doing stuff, but He didn't have them preaching and stuff. Then He sends them out again at the end and sends them to the Great Commission, which even in that, they're still being transformed and renewed. So I'd say the first step is praying and asking God, like, what is it? And 99%, if not 100%, God's already been telling you what it is.
Oh yeah.
The thing is, we don't
You
want to
didn't
deal.
see
We don't
it.
want to deal with it.
Yeah.
You know, because sometimes the things that God's trying to transform us is not just about the prayer and the stuff like that. Sometimes God's trying to transform us and say, I want you to forgive that person that's never going to forgive you.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
and that doesn't just
that
that doesn't just happen
yeah.
with you going to a room
yeah.
and saying, okay, I forgive you. That
Yeah.
goes in there and saying, okay,
Yeah.
Lord, but I'm hurt by this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And He says, okay, I'm going to work with that. You got to let that go.
And
You
you
gotta
know,
do-
that's so funny.
and it goes through that,
Man.
and that's something that God may be trying to transform in your life.
Man, bro, it's so funny you talking about that, because I mean, I can't say I'm seeing it in my own life personally, but in my wife's life, bro, man, bro, I'm seeing it. Like, she is getting tested, like really tested. But I can see, man, that like the Holy Spirit been really helping her
Yeah.
to really deal with a lot of issues. And like I know my wife from past, how she would have dealt with certain issues, but now she deals with issues like totally differently now, man. And like I can see it, I can see it, the change in her, man. And how God is like, hey, it's time for you to learn how to be patient with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like,
and I think that's part of it, because I think some of the stuff that you started seeing, and I see this in myself as well, is like when you focus on a resolution or a goal, it's about willpower. And so a lot of us, again, we'll focus on certain things, but if you like, let's just keep using that as an example, that you're going to forgive. Some of us, we don't truly forgive. We use our willpower to ignore it. Okay, if I push it away, if I ignore it, if I act like it's not there, if I act like this ain't happened or that's not happening, then it's fine.
yeah.
And you think you dealt with it, but all you did was bury it deep, and sooner or later it's going to come back out. Transforming means I can't hide from it. I got to learn how to face it and deal with it. And with dealing with it, that means I have to admit certain things. I got to deal with it and look at it. And sometimes, like, even with forgiveness, like the toughest part, and again, these are things that you have to come and realize on your own. I can give it to you, and it sounds like great gems, but it's things you got to go and realize with the Lord. A lot of times when it comes to forgiveness, we have to come to a realization that if we truly believe God forgave us for everything, and what that actually means, and when you go and you start studying that as a discipline, if that's where the Lord's trying to lead you, and He says, okay, I want you to understand forgiveness, I want you to be transformed and be a forgiving person, and you start going and looking at that, it makes you fully understand why you can forgive somebody else, whether you go and tell them or not, or whether they ask for forgiveness or not, why you can forgive them in that manner. Because when you look at it, and this sounded weird to me, and maybe it sounds just regular for people, but for me it sounded weird. Like God's forgiven me of stuff that I trespassed on others and didn't trespass. Like in essence, I trespassed on him, but I trespassed on others. But he's giving me forgiveness whether they don't give it to me.
Yeah.
And you have to look at it that way, and you're like, wait a second. But he can do that because he's the author of life and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So if he can forgive me of stuff that maybe like if I go and I offend a person and that person never forgives me, but I ask for forgiveness, God forgives me of that. Because he has authority over all. Now, I may never get reconciled that relationship with that person, but God forgave me of that. So if God's able to do that, then how can I hold something against somebody else? You know, it goes back to that to the ruler who forgave the debts. You know, and that's why it's more about the discipline and the transformation that God's trying to do with us, and it's renewing it. And a lot of us, I don't know, to me, I think you come to this understanding that you don't understand forgiveness until you need forgiveness. You don't understand grace until you need grace.
Yeah.
We can understand a biblical and definition of grace, but you don't fully understand it until you realize that you truly needed grace. You know, and that was the issue with the Jews. And when you look at the law and stuff like that, they couldn't understand the concept of grace when Jesus is coming and he's telling them that sins are forgiven and this and that, and by grace, because their concept of it is they didn't need grace because they were following the law. And if they didn't follow the law, then there was consequences. You paid the consequences, then you were restored. Grace says, I screwed up, but I'm not going to do any of those things, and God's still going to forgive me. And that was a foreign concept for them because that was all about willpower. The concept of grace is not about willpower, but about who God is and who he's trying to transform us into being. So I think as we kind of go through that, I think that's kind of the way I would look at it is you're heading into the new year. Like, have you sought God and say, and again, I wouldn't wait for the new year. I would do this quite often.
Oh, man.
Have you sought God and said, okay, Lord, what are you trying to transform in me? What are you trying to renew in me?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and what I always find interesting, it says a renewing of the mind. But what if our minds were corrupt to begin with, what is he trying to renew us? That means at some point our mind wasn't corrupt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in the perfection of the soul that he created, the mind, the conscience, or whatever we want to call it,
it wasn't corrupted. No.
And he's trying to get it back to the renewal of the perfection before sin came in. Right? When you look at kids, they don't know what sin is. They're learning it as they grow, but they don't know what sin is. And you see it.
No, that's facts.
You know, you look at kids.
No, that's facts.
Kids want a lot. Look, my nephew, and maybe I should stop talking about him on the podcast. But my nephew, he doesn't understand what it means to be greedy, but he wants everything. And, you know, he has toys and he says, okay, but I see toys over there and I want those toys too. And it's not because he understands the concept of what it means to want everything and be gluttonous in toys. Or it's just, he sees it and he wants plenty of it, you know. And at this point, I don't think it's greed yet. And now if it's greed when he starts, but that's the conscious mindset, you know, of wanting more. And I look at it two ways, right? That can be twisted into two different things. If that, and again, as he grows older, if that's all his focus, then that can turn into greed. I just want more and more and more. But if he learns to understand that that comes from God and God blesses him, he could want more and more and more because God is the one giving those things. And it doesn't become the focus of it, right? Because if you listen to what Christ said, and again, I don't believe in the what is the teachings? Just let me
prosperity.
Yeah, I don't believe in the prosperity gospel. That's by no means what I'm saying. But if you come to understand Christ and you understand what it is, you know, one of the main things is you see that he said, I came to give life and I came to give it abundantly. And part of that is understanding what that means, what life is and what that means. And I truly believe God will give us not just a lot of physical, but spiritual and things like that when we truly understand where it's coming from and we celebrate it. And it's all a matter of perspective, right? If I put my focus on the things and I want more, it's greed. But if I put my focus on God and the result of that, the more comes from it, it's because of who he is and not what I've done.
You know what? Sometimes it could even be even more amazing than that. Like sometimes you could want something or maybe not even want it, but you can have a want for God more, and then that thing you want can just boom. It can just overflow. Boom, boom, boom.
You know,
without you even you know what I'm saying? Without you even wanting it. Like
I mean, oh, go ahead.
I think you can want and ask God for everything you want.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. But with the understanding that God always has 3 answers for you: no, yes, and wait. You know, because sometimes God can bless us. Let's say God can make us all millionaires. But will we be responsible as millionaires? Will we still love God as millionaires? Or we're going to love money more than God? You see? And, you know, talking about my nephew, my grandson, not nephew, grandson, you know, now that I'm older, you start seeing life where every baby's born in sin, you know, but they don't practice sin. But you start teaching them obedience, not disobedience. Because the flesh already teaches them that, how to be disobedient, how to lie, how to do this. And you have to teach them the right way. And then I start seeing, you know, you start growing, then you become an adult. And then all of a sudden you get older, a certain age, and it looks like you just reverse to being a kid, a baby. You know. Somebody has to take care of you. Somebody has to tell you yes. Somebody has to tell you no. And we start throwing tantrums and all that.
Oh, yeah.
And experiencing that happens a lot in Christianity. You know, sometimes we think as Christians, as time goes by, the years go by, and what you do for the Lord and all that, and all the sacrifices, we come to that point that we believe we have arrived. As Christians, as spiritual leaders, when you will never arrive. See, and now that I'm older, to me, every day I wake up, it's a new day. It's another day that the Lord's given me to either fix what went wrong yesterday, you know, or focus in what's in the future. And there's 2 verses I would like to read, and they're popular verses. And one was my favorite since I got saved was 2 Corinthians 5:17, where it says, therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creation. The old has passed away. Behold, the new has come. The moment you become saved, you come into Christ, you know, he made you new. And he says the old has passed, you know, and the new has come. But the problem is, you know, anything new becomes old again. And then for us to stay new in Christ, we have to have a relationship with God.
It's a daily thing, bro.
You know, and one of the things that I've noticed that we, as a lot of Christians, the biggest mistake we do, especially if we coming back to reconcile with the Lord or whatever, the first thing we think we need to do to get right with God is start doing something for God. You know, and I always tell people, in my life, the things I do for God as a pastor, as a Christian, all that, is not to get me more spiritual to God, because it's not. It drains you. You know, it's like when you go to work, you know, you come home tired. It can be mentally, physically, because that job is draining you every day. You know, whatever you do, you know, and that's the same way when you do something for the Lord. And what I do for God is because I'm grateful for what God has done. But I have to maintain my spiritual life, my relationship with God, you know, to keep on growing. And then the next one is Isaiah 43:18-19. It says, remember not the former things, nor consider the things of old. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. I don't know if you guys remember a movie called Groundhog Day with Murray. That when he went to somewhere to, I think he was what was it, broadcaster or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, he started living the same day every day.
Yeah.
But once he noticed it was the same day, he started changing things up, And a lot of us Christians, I believe that's what we live. We live on Groundhog Day. But instead of changing what we see, we live in what used to be in the past.
Yeah.
Like me, I've been serving God for 40-something years. I don't just trust what God did 40 years ago. I'm trusting God to what He's doing now. Now. And as time goes by, the world's going to get worse. Times are going to get worse.
I think kind of along those lines, when we're talking about heading into the new year, and again, we're talking about it because it's a New Year episode, but it should be all the time. We talked about biblical vision, we talked about spiritual discipline, but I think it all comes down to this one thing that we have to constantly ask ourselves, and I think you kind of addressed it there in a moment, is who is God calling us to become, not just do? If you read through the Bible, throughout the Bible, God's calling us to renew us, remind us back to where Adam and Eve were, and even further. And it's not about what they did, it was about who they were. And we got to come back to this, and it's said in so many different ways. Paul says it in different ways. Christ says it in different ways. But if you all come back to it, it's that we're sons and daughters of God. And we don't know what it is to be a son and daughter of God. And so with the spiritual discipline, with the biblical visions, it's helping us to realize who we are, not trying to make us become or do something. It's not trying to make us just have goals and do things. If that's all the point of Christianity was just to have a goal to do things this year, do that, then we would lose. Then you lose the whole meaning of it. And Christ's death, God's love throughout the universe was pointless. But if you look at it, Adam and Eve knew they were the creation of God, and even then they failed. And throughout that time, God is constantly trying to show humanity that they're children of God. He took the Jews, he took different groups, and Paul echoes it when he's saying that we're trying to be Christ-like, we're trying to be in the image of God. Well, what does that mean, be Christ-like in the image of God? It means to be children of God, because you should take on the image of the parent, right? And if you take on that image and that inheritance and stuff, now you're starting to become and be transformed. And that's, I think, truly what God wants us to be. And that's what He's trying to help us understand. And that's where I think when you start looking at that, that's where you start focusing your studies and saying, okay, am I acting like a child of God? And what does a child of God look like? What does it mean to be Christ-like? And look, Jesus said, my Father sent me. Look at all the things that Jesus did. What did it mean to be Christ-like? What did it mean? I mean, Christ came humble. I mean, He was humble. He had humility. He was humble, right? He came as a child to nobody parents. Didn't come in a spectacle. No one knew. And even when He starts His ministry, He starts in the smallest of areas, right? And you read and you hear them joke about, well, what good comes from Nazareth? You hear all these different things. Jesus didn't come with a great spectacle, but He came with humility. He was obedient, right? Now, not just obedient and say, okay, here are the rules. He was obedient to His Father. If His Father told Him to heal, He healed. He was obedient to what God had and understanding of that. And I think the most important thing when it comes to obedience, because I think sometimes we misunderstand obedience, it's not about just doing something that God told us to do. It's about doing it because we trust who God is. You see, you can only truly be obedient if you trust who God is. You can have willpower and say, okay, God told me not to drink, so I'm obedient. God told me not to smoke. God told me not to cuss. God told me not to do this.
But your willpower is only
that's
gonna
all
take you,
willpower,
right? So far, so.
But if you go with obedience and you say, you know what, I'm trusting God, even if I don't agree with it, I'm trusting God because I believe He knows better than I am. Now you're obedient to the point of death, right? Because even Christ in the garden was like, Lord, Father, if there's any other way, pass this on.
Right.
But He was like, you let your will be done. There's a trust factor there. It wasn't just about Jesus obeying because He was a slave to God or that God was the Father. He obeyed because He trusted the Father's will. And I think that's where we get lost with obedience. A lot of times we think, okay, if I go to church, I got to obey the rules of the church. I got to obey this and that. And it's more about you're trusting God, that you're obeying him and what he wants and what he's doing. And when you start doing that, then all of a sudden, all the other things go together with it, and there's other things: love, compassion, self-giving, sacrifice. I mean, these are the image of Christ. And so if we're going to be children of God and we're going to be Christ-like, see, a lot of people, they love the Christ-like part and the children of God when they start talking about the inheritance, heaven, everlasting forgiveness, grace, mercy, and all those things are good. And I preach on those and I believe those fundamentally. But those also come because when you're taking on the image of God, one of the hardest things is self-giving sacrifice.
Yeah, the attributes.
Self-giving sacrifice. Are you willing to sacrifice yourself for others? That it's not about you, but it's about him. And the reason that you can have self-giving sacrifice is because you trust the Father. It all comes back to trust and knowing who God is. And that's why you start renewing the mind and transforming by the more you get to know God. Because the more you get to know God, the more you trust in him and the more you can let all these things go. It's funny. It took me a while to understand that in order for me to be more of the image of God, it's not about the things I do, but it's about how much I actually trust God and truly love him and truly trust him. Because if I trust him, because look at one of the things Jesus said, and we talk about this about not worrying, but when you really look at it, what Jesus was saying, when he's telling, I don't know if it was the disciples or the Pharisees or all of them, there's a point where he tells them, look at the birds, look at the sparrows, look how the Father clothes them, feeds them. They don't have to, they're taken care of.
Yeah, you don't
how
see,
much more than
you don't see birds at HEB.
But it's a trust factor there. And when you look at it, you just think about it as, okay, so God takes care of everything. No worries, no worries.
Yeah.
But you forget there's a trust factor there, that the birds self-consciously trust that God has everything in control. And that's one of the things, like, there's no way, one of the things I think I've come to understand is when I can't love other people, when I can't forgive other people, when I can't have grace for other people, it's not their problem, it's a me problem. And my problem is not with them. My problem is that I don't trust God enough to be able to do those things. When I can't come and volunteer and give to the poor or do this or help out at church or do all these things, it's not a church problem. It's a me problem. I don't trust that God has me covered enough that I can go and help others. And if I have that trust issue with God, then I'm always going to be trying to do things on my own. And that goes with our salvation, with everything. The moment I can trust God, that's one less thing I have to worry about. So it allows me to focus on others and do that. And that only comes with, again, renewing and transforming of the mind, which is a constant thing. I say that in an imperfect, I'm nowhere near a perfect state. I can't say God is continuously renewing us, restoring us, changing us, showing us those things, right? Because even in the deepest part of us, we think we forgave everyone, and then there's still this little resentment inside of us, right? A little bit of, someone wronged me, someone said this the wrong way, someone did this, or someone hurt me, so I can't trust this anymore. And you have to allow God to continue to renew you, and God constantly has to come tell you, I know you're hurt, I can deal with it. But you got to trust me to heal that hurt, not trust yourself. See, a lot of us, we're trying to heal ourselves. We're trying to transform ourselves.
And I think one of the things is that we don't realize that Satan's goal is to make us all feel defeated all the time. That he's winning and not God. That we don't, and again, that goes to trusting.
Yep.
Who do you trust? Do you trust God, or do you trust the flesh, or you trust the devil? And the devil, he knows that it's easy to trust the flesh and to follow him than to try to live a relationship with God. Because being a Christian is not easy, takes a lot, because you're fighting a lot of elements, and the devil's never gonna leave you alone. He's gonna always battle.
Yep.
And then it might not be a personal attack. It can be a world attack.
Yep.
You know, like when the government shut down in our country, you know, a lot of people panicked. You know, how were they going to eat? How were they going to do this? How were they going to do that? You know, I don't know how many people of those were Christians or not. But you know, the Bible says as Christians, you know, that the last scripture that I read, it says that in the wilderness, you know, he'll make a way in the wilderness, and in the desert, you know, he will make rivers. You see, I believe in the government. I believe that when you need help, they can help you, you know, with food stamps and housing and all that. But you know what? When all that stops, that help, God has a river.
Yep.
God makes a way in the wilderness if you trust Him.
Yep.
You see? And I always tell people, when I would go to the food stamp office, you know, I would tell the guy that was doing my application, look, I'm here because God told me to be here. Either He's going to use you to give me food stamps or not. And if you close the door, God's going to open another door.
No.
But I'm not here to beg you. I'm not here to, oh man, what are we going to? None of that. I'm here because this is what I got to do.
Yep.
And if it's God's will, you'll give them to me. If they're not, God will make a way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but one thing of as Christians, we like that emotional high. All right, and you know, we get all pumped up and everything. But then when it comes to reality, the battles, the fights, you know,
that's where it come in at.
And by now, most of us three that are here, you know that nothing ever goes perfect when you're doing something for God. Something has to go wrong, you know, because the devil does not want for us to defeat the people. So if he can defeat us, guess what? We're gonna give that spirit to the people.
Yep.
And Satan always likes for us to make us feel like, you know, that's why he likes every year for Christians to make resolutions and goals, because he knows you're not gonna do it.
No.
If you haven't done it all this year, you think you're gonna start running today,
No.
you know. And then if you do, in 3 weeks, I'll make you feel defeated because you stopped,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, I think,
And
yeah.
and I like one thing when my dad said, and then you can take over. My dad would always tell me, look, Joe, failing is not falling, you know, or shame is not falling. Shame is staying in your fall. Because you know what? We're going to fall. We're going to fail. I'm going to fail and fall. You know, because I'm a senior pastor doesn't mean he gives me so much, okay, now you got so many brownie points because if I don't read my Bible, if I don't pray, if I don't fellowship with God and all that, I'm going to fail. I'm going to fall.
Yeah.
But who am I going to listen in that fall? Am I going to listen to God, or I'm going to listen to the devil? God's going to tell me, son, that's all right. You fell, but I've got you. I've got your back. Get up, dust the dirt, and keep on walking.
You know what, man? I'm just thinking about right now, man, is that all of this is this, when you trust God, man, it's gonna make you uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It's gonna make you uncomfortable. But in that uncomfortability, you have to know that God is
But
there
you know
with
why?
you. It's because you're relying on yourself.
Yeah, and you know why too?
Yeah. So.
Because we're always trying to figure out how God's going to do it. Human nature is, okay, God, I know you're going to bless me, but how?
Yep.
Which way?
It's
You know, and God always throws you a left field. You know, He doesn't do it the way you want to. You know, and I learned that, okay, God, I don't know how you're going to do it, but you're going to do it.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. And like we're saying, I mean, we're closing out the year. Again, I'm not big on resolutions and things like that. And we wanted to do an end of year episode, so we talked about it. So it might not be what you were expecting. But one, I would always say first, thank God for at least another year, and thank Him for everything He's done.
Definitely.
Both everything that's come through, the trials and the tribulations. And then the other piece I would say is again, change your perspective and look at it as who does God want me to become? It's not about goals, and it's not about, just trying to fulfill things. It's about really knowing who God wants you to become, and then understanding that vision that He has, and then He'll give you the spiritual disciplines around it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's not about fixing habits and this and that. It's about a spiritual discipline. When you have spiritual discipline, it's not focused on habits. When you focus on it, goes to the root of the habit. What's really driving it, and that's really where it goes to. And so when you seek God and get to know Him that way, then you start growing that way. So I encourage you.
And the difference, going back to prosperity, prosperity teaches you not to be responsible.
Yeah.
God teaches you how to be responsible.
Yeah.
And then once He bless you, you're responsible how you're gonna deal with that blessing.
Yeah. And when you start looking at it, you start looking at it differently, just kind of like what you were talking about, the failures and stuff. When you're looking at God transforming you, it's not about just that you failed. It's about, okay, now I know there's a weakness inside, and I can address it with God's help because I see it. When we think we don't fail is when we're truly failing, because we think we have it together, we have it put down. That was the Pharisees' biggest issues, is they couldn't see their own failures. They thought they were fulfilling the law, or at least better than everyone else, instead of seeing where their blemishes were and how God deals with it. When you start looking at God's transforming you, the only way He can transform you is by showing you those things. And sometimes it's the sin, it's the pain, it's the hurt that He has to show you so that you can work on the stuff, because it's really the root of it. Again, I go back to it. It's not about the cussing, it's about what's driving you to get to that point. It's not about the lying, it's what drove you to that. It's not about the cheating and the stealing, it's about what truly drove you to those things. And when you start getting to that, now that becomes about transformation, not fixing a habit. You see, if all you do is fix habits, you're only fixing surface stuff. Transformation deals with the inside stuff. And so I encourage you to seek God. Thank God for the new year, the good year that we've had. I think as a church we've had a great year, and we're gonna we've even through trials and tribulations. Some things we wanted to do didn't turn out the way we wanted it. Some things that we weren't expecting turned out the way we weren't expecting it to, and so that works out. I mean, you just trust God, and you keep allowing yourselves to be transformed. I know, even throughout my year, the Lord has shown me things that, okay, I thought I had dealt with that. I got to go, Lord, I need your help. Like, I need to deal with this because there's something there still. And I think that's what it should be about, the transformation. So, as you close out the year, don't forget to thank God. And then 2, ask Him, who does He want you to become? And then really find that area. He may have something in you. He's probably already been talking to you about, this is the area I want to renew in you. That's the beauty of God. He doesn't try to renew it all at once. He doesn't try to say, okay, all these 5 things, you got to renew it all at once, because we would be
not
overwhelmed.
Like us. You're right,
We would be overwhelmed if we had to renew it. He does it little by little, and He's like, okay, here's your biggest issue: grace, forgiveness, love, self-sacrifice. Some of us, we're not good at self-sacrifice. We think we are. We're like, well, I give charity, I volunteer every once in a while, I'm good at self-sacrifice. He's like, not really. And He starts dealing with us in those areas. So I encourage you to pray about it, seek Him, and have a happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Hit the like and subscribe button.